Genesis yesterday, we were leaving Joseph in jail. Even though he had helped the baker and the the cupbearer, he was not remembered by them. Of course, the baker was hanged, so I guess couldn't remember him, but the cupbearer didn't remember him. But time went by, and we're starting now in chapter 41. And while Joseph is still in jail, God is still blessing him even in jail. But it tells us in chapter 41 that 2 years have passed, and the Pharaoh has a dream. Not the cupbearer, not the baker, but the Pharaoh has a dream. He dreams that down by the Nile, 7 cows that are healthy and fat come up grazing, and then 7 cows which are gaunt or whose sides are caving in from lack of food come up, and they eat the 7 fat cows. The Pharaoh's disturbed by that. He goes back to sleep, and he has a second dream. This time he sees 7 fat ears of corn, and the 7 fat ears of corn are doing just fine, but then there's 7 thin ears of corn who come along and eat the plump ones, and he has this second dream. Now it troubles him a great deal. We find that clearly in verse 8. The 2 dreams have really bothered him a great deal. He calls all of the magicians, he calls all of the wise men of the entire region and asks them to interpret this dream, but with no avail. I mean, there's no results. And then the cupbearer now finally, after all of these years, remembers Joseph, who helped him in jail. And he tells the king about how, Pharaoh, how this young Hebrew man has saved him by being able to interpret the dream, and that he retells the story, and so that Pharaoh would remember that he restored him to his position, but he hung the baker. So needless to say, the Pharaoh sends for Joseph, asks him if he can interpret this dream, and Joseph very clearly says, yes, I can. The dreams are both the same meaning, 2 different ways of telling the story. He says the 7 years represented by the 7 cows, or the 7 ears of corn that are in good shape, are the years of prosperity and plenty. But the 7 thin ears and the 7 thin cows are representative of a terrible famine for 7 years. And they will take up all that has been supplied during good years. And he says, Pharaoh, what you need to do is you need to find a wise, discerning man and put him in charge of all of this. And the Pharaoh liked the idea. And needless to say, Joseph struck out as being somebody that was wise and had interpreted this dream, and it all sounded reasonable to him, so he put Joseph in charge of everything. Now here's Joseph on his roller coaster again. He's been in jail. He's been forgotten for over 2 years since he helped the cupbearer, and now he is in charge of everything. There's no one greater in the land except Pharaoh himself. It tells us that right in the scriptures. And then it goes on and tells us that everything played out exactly as Joseph said that it would. There was 7 years of plenty. Joseph stored up those supplies for those 7 years. And then there was 7 years of famine. And people came from all over the land to buy the material that Joseph had stored up. It all came to pass exactly as God said. Now, how do we apply this to our lives? Well, certainly we can go a long stretch and say, well, we need to be sure that we put away some money for the hard times. And certainly, no matter what Christian financial organization you talk to, they're going to tell you not to hoard, but they're going to tell you to be sure you've put away for the hard times. Most of them will tell you how much money you should put away in case you should lose your job, how much you should keep aside for your retirement. And so we certainly can see the application of financial planning and putting away for the difficult days. However, I think there's some other things that we need to see here. And that is that even though we may be in jail, even though years may pass when we're not doing all that well, God has not forgotten us. Let me say that again. God has not forgotten us. And He will in His due time bring to pass His blessings. Second, I think when we look at this, we can recognize that God does sometimes talk to people in their dreams. Now, sometimes you have dreams because you ate pizza just before you went to bed. But sometimes God can put in something into your mind, something you should do or something you should stop doing, or something that might come to pass. But be careful. Don't read too much into dreams, because unless you wake up saying God is the one that showed me that dream, you could get yourself in deep trouble with the dreams that you might come up with. And finally, I want you to recognize how Joseph came to another high point on his roller coaster ride. He was in charge of everything. Only Pharaoh was greater than he in all of the land. And he used his gifts and talents in order to bring about God's will for the people. Because we know not only the Egyptians ate, but some of those that were Joseph's people ate. And that's my thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.